Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're looking at this, which is the Qronge Discoverer e-bike. So I got this from them for review. It came with a bunch of bells and whistles, literally actually, because it does have a bell, but it's got a bunch of features that they've included, which I like, a basket, a back rack, things like that. And then as far as a commuter bike, this may be one that you want to look into. So I've looked at probably going on 10 e-bikes, scooters, things like that at this point. This one has a lot of features that I think could be helpful to you if you are someone who's tooling around town and wants to use this to get around, but also, like I said, as a commuter bike. So we're going to go into the details. We'll tell you what comes with the bike, and then we'll definitely show you footage of riding this bike and talk through what the experience is like. All right, so as we jump in here, I will show you that you get the user manual. In the user manual, it will give you instructions on how to assemble the bike. I've already done it. It's relatively simple. There are a couple parts where you may want to tighten up some bolts and then line things up completely before you totally crank them down. But it probably took me about half an hour, 45 minutes. One thing I can say is that if you're not totally sure, feel free to email me, everydaytacticalvids@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you and let you know any of the details you're looking for when it comes to assembling the bike. So what do you get with the bike? You get a set of keys. You're going to use these to take the battery out. You also get a bike lock and a set of keys for the bike lock as well. You get a bike pump for inflating the tires. It does come with these different attachments. It's probably just a generic bike pump that they got for their company, but you can use the other attachments if you need to inflate something else. It's basically just going to use that main attachment that comes with the pump. You get this toolkit. Everything you need to assemble the bike comes in here, including some black zip ties. Because they are black, make sure that when you put them in here, you don't think, oh, I lost them. They can kind of disappear in the black toolkit. Here's your battery, and then on the end, you can see we've got the on-off switch, and then you're gonna open up that port to plug in the cord for charging, and then you're gonna plug the charging unit, which looks like this. There's the box, and then there's your standard plug right there. You're gonna plug that into the wall to charge this up. Depending on how much you've used the bike and how drained the battery is, it can take several hours to charge it. So that really depends on the output of your wall and how worn down the battery is. But I would say plan on 3 or 4 hours if it's completely dead and you've got a standard US outlet. I'm gonna show you how to install the battery now. It does come installed. I took it out to charge it and now I'm putting it back in. I want to note that when it's installed, you wanna have access to the power button. So make sure that it is turned on and then you place it actually into the bike. So your battery is gonna go in this main section of the bike. You wanna have the part that has the round cutout and the rectangular cutout. That's gonna go towards your front tire. So put the other end in and then slide this in and it'll click. And now it's all set. Now, if this is locked, then you won't be able to take the battery out. If it's unlocked, you just pull up on this little button right here and pull it out. But because it's locked now, I can't do that. Let me get the battery or the key here real quick, slide it in, turn it, and now that it's turned, I can press that little section up and release the battery. So it's gonna default into the locked position. Now that it's locked in, even if I pull up on that little tab, it's gonna stay locked in. What I want to do now is work from the front of the bike to the back, talk about the different features, like I said, the bells and whistles. Then we're going to talk about the function, how it actually works, and then we'll show you what it looks like in use. Let's start off with the front tire. So make sure that you are fully inflated. That's what you have the pump for. There's information on the side of the tire to tell you how fully you should inflate it. For me, I generally, once I can barely squeeze it down, it's got a little bit of flex, that's going to be good for me for both on-road and off-road. Again, some things I learned as I've been riding it. Make sure you have your light adjusted where you want it to go so you're not trying to ride and adjust the light. When I first turned it on, I was like, where's the light? And I didn't realize it was pointing basically up in the sky. So you want it pointing in the directly in front of you so you can see. The light, the reflector, and your rim here, or basically your mud flap, if you will. These are all connected by a bolt here, and if it's off a little bit, the tire is gonna drag on it and make some noise. So make sure before you go out, you adjust that so it's not making any noise. You can have somebody hold the bike, spin it, and then adjust, and then you'll finally crank this down so it's nice and tight. And that way you won't have noise. And again, be tempted to, while you're riding, be fidgeting with this. So there's a little information on your front end. You do have a quick detach wheel, which is great if you have to take it off and replace it, whatever you need to do. Relatively simple to do there. All right, moving up to the basket. This thing is awesome. So you can carry your gear in there, whatever you need to put in. As you turn the bike, it doesn't move, so that's obviously great. If you want this thing out of the way, fold this side down, then the two sides, and then you fold it up, and then there's a little hook here. The hook goes over top. Let me get it to lock into place properly. And now it's out of the way. But because it's got the springs on it, you basically pull that hook out of the way, drop it down, and it's gonna open up. I'm leaving it open so I can throw gear in there. Last night I went riding with my son, and when we came back, I put like a leftover sandwich in there, my wallet, maybe something else. Yeah, it all just went in there, which was great. If you want to make it so that there's no holes in it, obviously you could find something about that size, like a basket, that's got no holes in it, a box basically, and put it in there, and then you could store your gear that way. All right, moving up a bit, let's talk about your rear view mirrors. Now, a lot of times if people have rear view mirrors on a bike, they're gonna be all the way out on the end. You can't do that because the grips go all the way out to the end. So you can basically put it anywhere on the metal bar here. I put it here, and that's sort of, it's worked for me. You wanna make sure both these connection points are cranked down fully with the included tools, and also that right here and right here, those bolts are cranked so that this is not flopping all over the place. You want it loose enough so that you can adjust it and move it, like I can for both these. But yesterday when I was riding around, this was loose and these were loose. So these things were like all over the place, not super helpful. Let me take the camera to the other side so you can see what they look like from actually the riding position. So again, before you go for a long ride, make sure you have these set up properly, and you may need to fiddle with this. You may need to move it in and out. You may want to take the bell off and put that here and then move the bell in. There's lots of different options of how you can have it set up. The other thing they included was a phone mount, which is great. You can use that, you can set this up and then you can, run Google Maps or something like that if you want to. You can turn this sideways if you need to. You can turn it vertically, and then you can see it's still a little bit loose there. But then you can crank this down to make your phone nice and safe, and it'll sit in there. I've got a 13 Pro Max with a big case on it, and it still works fine for me. Again, you want to make sure everything is cranked down and tightened the way you want it to before you take off. As you can see, that's way more loose. It was over here more, so it was tightened before, but not tight enough. So I got to make sure that's fully secure before I go anywhere. Here's your Shimano derailleur, and then here's your bell, pretty loud, and that'll get somebody's attention as you're driving. Again, we'll talk through the function in a second, but here's your accelerator, here's your handle. Nothing moves on this, on where your hand is going to be resting. This will make you accelerate, and then you've got to go up and to go down with your Shimano derailleur there. All right, moving back a bit, we have a seat, fully adjustable. You got a QD release down there on the bottom, so you can raise and lower that quite easily. Also comes with a water bottle holder, and you can adjust that as well. So put your water bottle in there, rock and roll. Not a whole lot to talk about in that section. Back here, you've got your rear bike rack, and you can actually find attachments so you could put a basket or something on this. This doesn't come attached, so you gotta, basically loosen some bolts and then attach it, and you'll be good to go. You got your power is basically down in there, so don't be messing around too much in the electrics and the electronics. You don't want to hurt that. Got a little protector for your derailleur. Got a mud flap here, or a fender. And then I do want to mention to you, when the power is on, which I just turned it on, you can see you do have a rear brake light, which is great. That'll definitely get attention from somebody. So, if you brake, all of a sudden they're gonna know you're doing that. When you let go, no light's coming out of it. So it's not like a low level light and then a ton of light. Just be aware of that. That being said, when you do turn the front light on, the back light will come on. So now you can see there's light coming out. So just be aware of that. And it does have a kickstand as well. Now, if you've never used an electric bike, I'll give you a rundown, but it's very similar to most electric bikes. So again, over here, you've got your throttle, you've got your gear shifter, and then here's where your electronics are. I want to zoom in on this section so you can understand how it works. All right, first of all, to turn it on, you've got a power button right here. It's the one on the side. Hold it down. It's going to come on. It's going to do some counting and then go back to 0. You can see my battery is fully charged. I'm going 0 miles per hour. It's set at 0 for the different settings, and I'll explain that in a minute. You've got your tripometer, 14.8, looks like miles that I've traveled total testing this thing out. So I'm going to press the top button now here. This is the plus button, and you'll see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I press it again, nothing. And then the bottom button will take me down to 1 and then to 0. All right, so the way your average electrical bike works is that if you put it at 1, that's going to be your slowest setting. And now when I pedal the bike, as I'm pedaling, if I'm not reaching whatever number 1 setting is at miles per hour, the electric power will kick in to help me move up to that speed as long as I'm pedaling. As soon as I stop pedaling, it basically goes into neutral. I go up to 2 and I'm pedaling, it's going to get me up to whatever level 2 speed is. 3, 4, 5, all the way up to level 5. So as I'm pedaling, it's going to say, okay, Tim wants to go, let's say 20 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour. He's pedaling, but he's not going fast enough. Even if he's working as hard as he can, we're going to kick in the electric power and get him up to 20, 25 miles an hour, whatever it is. All the way back down to, when it's at 0, the only power you're getting is out of your pedaling. Now you can see your throttle over here and your electronic screen here. Now, if this is set at 0 on that bottom number, and I hit the throttle, I'm not going to get anything. If I put this up to 1 and I hit the throttle, it's basically going to say, okay, we're going to take you up to whatever the level 1 speed is, even if I'm not pedaling. Put it up to 2, hit the throttle, it'll take you up to 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And when you go back down to 0, again, if I hit this, I'm not going to get anything out of it. A couple other features worth noting when it comes to the display screen and such. You do have power assisted pushing. So here's the plus button, here's the minus button, here's the power button. If you press and hold the minus button, basically you can walk alongside the bike. That's why there's a little foot down here on the button. You can walk alongside the bike and it will assist you. If you want to go into the cruise mode, where it's basically going to stay at the exact same speed the whole time you're going, while you're riding at a normal, like a fixed speed, you're going to hold onto and press the minus button for 5 seconds, and the e-bike will basically lock into that fixed speed. And then if you brake or accelerate, it's going to exit the cruise and go back to how it would normally function. I'm taking this guy for a ride now. I'm going to take my phone and hook it up on the phone mount so you can get some footage of me riding. And again, as I'm riding, I'm going to adjust the speeds to go faster and slower. I'll try adjust the throttle. I'll work with pedaling. You'll get a full sense of how this thing works. I'll take it on the roads. I'll take it on the grass. I'll go on some dirt paths as well so you can get a full experience of what this is like. I also got some footage yesterday or the day before of my son riding it, and so we'll give you some footage of that. He is 11 years old. He's a little bit above average in height, but just to give you a sense, you know, this can be used for an adult. It can be used for a kid as well. Certainly you want to tell your kid to be careful because you got a lot more power here than you do with just a standard bike when you're pedaling with your own strength. But let's head out and go for a ride. All right, I'm out on the road here. I am pedaling and we're at about 8.8 miles per hour. When I'm pedaling, the assist has kicked in a little bit here to get me up to that. Let's go up to level 3 as I'm pedaling. That's going to get me up to, let's see here, let's see what it says. Over 12 miles an hour, 13, about 14 miles an hour. Come around the turn. Pedaling again, but since I'm not really pushing it hard, the electric assist is kicking in. So up to about 13 miles an hour. Let's go up to level 4. Keep pedaling here. We're up to 18 miles an hour. $21 miles an hour. Level 5. Pedaling, but the assist is kicking in. So with my weight, about 250, 6'2". At level 5, we're at about 20 miles an hour. All right, we're crossing over here from pavement to dirt. This is relatively smooth here, and in a little bit we'll get onto something that's even a little bit more rough. But these tires are solid for this, no issues. They're wide enough that I have no concern about riding on this kind of road. No concern about it, you know, wheels kicking out or anything like that. All right, you can see over that way, we're more into the grass. There's more kind of gravel, so I would call that more off-road than the dirt road was. So we're gonna slowly ride over there, see how this thing works there. I will adjust the derailleur here, bring the speed down so it's not really helping much, and I'll just pedal. But this is definitely more off-road than before. Moving about 6 miles an hour here with just straight up pedaling, relatively flat, but definitely bumpy. Now we're way off-road now. There's like sand, rocks, dirt, plants, all those kinds of things. And I put it up to 1 so that if I hit the accelerator, it'll give me a little bit of speed. You can see we're definitely off-road, off the beaten path here. Let's head back to this parking lot. Now what I want to do is give you a sense of the power based on the size of the hill. So if the hill is really steep, what's it like? If it's not as steep, what's that like? Let's go find a hill together. All right, small hill here, and I'm pedaling, and yeah, it's taking me up pretty easy, no major issues. We're gonna drop down here, and then we'll hit another hill. One more hill here. Want a dead stop just to see what that's like. Start pedaling. I'm set at level 3, second gear. I'm just gonna hit the throttle now to see what happens. So without me pedaling, I'm at about 6 miles an hour, 5.8, 6. Yeah, so I would say if you're heading up a big hill, you want to drop it down to number 1, level 1 for the electric power, gear 1, and you're probably going to be working if you head up that hill. Or if you head up a hill, that's pretty steep. So again, got to consider my size and weight. You weigh 120 pounds, the bike's going to be able to give you more assist going up that hill. So I'm probably at the higher end of what they would expect. All right, so you've seen it in use. Let me offer you some final thoughts on the Discoverer. So first off, price point, you're looking at $700 right now. It's a significant savings if you pick it up. So I'll put a link down below. If you head over to their website, you can pick up the Discoverer. So pluses and minuses, there's always gonna be pluses and minuses to pretty much any product, right? Nothing's perfect. So on the downside, you really got to crank down those mirrors and even the iPhone or the phone holder. So I would recommend that you put some sort of like maybe duct tape around the bars and then crank them down, because they did flop for me a bit. So heads up on that. The other thing is just be aware of your weight. Coming in at 250, the power for the bike is going to be less effective than if I was lighter. So you might want to get a more powerful bike. If you're, in the 250 pound range, get something else. For my son, who's obviously weighs way less than me, coming in at around 100 pounds, this thing had plenty of power to move. And I would say probably up to 200 pounds, you're going to be great with this thing. I do like the fact that the weight is not super high. I've got another e-bike that's just heavy. So when you pedal it without any power, it's a lot of work. For this one, it feels like you're riding a bike that feels like the weight of an average bike, maybe a little bit heavier, but it's totally doable. Whereas with some other e-bikes, it's really hard to pedal if you're not using power. These are some little things, but I do love the fact it comes with the basket, the back rack, the pump, the water bottle holder. What else? Let me look at it right down there. The lock. If you bought all those things individually, you're going to probably spend maybe a couple $100, at least $150, right? So that's a nice savings that you get of those things that are quite useful if you have an e-bike. So who's it for? I think it's great for somebody who's using it for commuting, getting around town. You're going to visit a friend who lives a couple miles away. Certainly easy peasy on the roads. You can certainly ride it there. Off-road, you can ride it on a dirt road. You can ride it on maybe a little bit more off-road. I don't consider it a straight up off-road bike. Like some of those ones that look like sort of a dirt bike or a motorcycle. It's not built to be that level, but it certainly can go off the beaten path a little bit. I wouldn't go riding over tons of rocks and roots and stuff with it, but there's a rail trail that's around us. You could certainly ride that whole thing, and it's sort of like gravel and dirt all mixed together. That would be great. This would work totally fine for that. I love the fact that you can get some great distance with it, right? You're not just going 3 miles and having to come back and charge it. I will note that the crankshaft is it's low to the ground. So if you've got really big feet, as you're pedaling, if your foot kind of comes down like this, your foot could bump on the ground. So just be aware of that. And as you're going around turns, don't go super like low to the ground, because the crankshaft is low, you might bump the pedal. On a full charge, you can get quite a distance. That's definitely going to depend on how much you're using the power. So if you're riding on a ton of hills, using a lot of power, maybe go 15 to 30 miles. If you're not using a ton of power, you can probably go 50, 60. I think they may have rated it even higher, but it's going to depend completely on how much power you're using, how much speed you're using. Yeah, a lot of variables there. But it's been good, and for $700, I feel like it's a good deal. But overall, a solid e-bike, and yeah, I've used it. My sons use it. It's been good. If you want to learn more, I've got links down below so you can check it out. Thanks for checking out this video. Got some other videos we're popping up here, and more videos coming soon. Take care.